Hey, there it goes. All right. We are getting close. Welcome to the Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 310 of East Central's favorite podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrill. Today I'm joined by executive video, audio producer, engineer, Zach Burcham, my forever co-host, Mr. Dakota Davis, and who?
Today's episode features Miss Betsy Mills, and Betsy is back from her European vacation. We're going to be talking to Betsy all about her time overseas and how that was and the experience that she gained from it. Then we're going to be walking you through the Henry County budget process and what that looks like. Then towards the end of the show, we're going to be talking a little bit about some controversy involving the author from Central Indiana, Mr. John Green, and then Betsy is going to fill us in on the World Cup, and then I think at the very end of the show, Jeremiah is going to talk a little bit about some racing stuff. So make sure you stick around until the end, if you want to hear some of that.
And remind me at the very end, I have a question, a question for you all to answer.
This is a full show, Jeremiah.
It's going to be a very full show. The show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes it'll provoke you, other times it'll make you laugh, but hopefully you'll always learn something new. If you joined us for Patreon, you learned that we like Canadian snacks more than Americans.
More than American snacks, not Americans.
One person in here had a very anti-American thought process about chocolate, and there are tomatoes on the table. That's what you learn. If you want to know any more, you have to join Patreon.
Patreon.com/Hog of Liberty. That's where you can go to support the show on a monetary level every month. And that is also where you can go to get those bonus episodes. We do a 20 to 30-minute bonus episode every week with our guests, where sometimes we try different food and drink, and we make our guests also try the food and drink. And we talk about what happened in our personal lives throughout the week, and it's just a more fun
We've only had one
episode.
Guest refuse to try the food.
That's true.
Who was that?
Henry County Sheriff John Sproles.
What didn't he want to try?
He didn't think key lime pie should look that green.
I'm going to tease him when I see him.
That key lime pie was like...
Was tasty.
Was it like neon green or something?
You have to check Patreon to know.
It was. Yeah, there's a picture in the Patreon
feed.
It
I'll
was
go find it.
St. Patty's Day green.
Oh, wow.
But it tasted much better than your brain told you it was going to taste.
Right.
It tasted fine. It was just delicious.
We owed apologies to the poor kid who made it after, because we blasted it until we ate it.
All right. If you are a member of the Patreon and you donate $50 more a month, at the top of each and every episode of the Hog of Liberty podcast, you do get a shout-out. Who are those people, Dakota Squared?
This week, we have Mr. Anthony Meyer, who is trucking packages and goods all across these United States of America. He's keeping the country running, and we appreciate him. Then we also have Mr. Jonathan Phillips. John Phillips is running for City Council Ward 2 in Newcastle. I'm sure he could use some help with that if you are so inclined. And then we have Miss Christy Avery, who is our favorite Norwex dealer in the, we'll just say the world.
Anywhere. This planet, other planets.
We also have some merchandise. Audrey makes our merchandise. If you want a T-shirt, go to the website and just leave us a voicemail and tell us exactly what you want, and we'll make it happen.
By the way, if you're a patron, you did get an Audrey Davis appearance.
That's true.
She was on Patreon this week.
Yep. Now she's in the.
Now she's hiding.
In the studio audience, waited to be shuffled away.
She's watching a preseason football game like she has money on it, is what's happening. Okay, Miss Betsy, you are back from Prague. I don't know. Where'd you go? You took you summered in Europe.
I summered in Europe. I've never done that before. I did summer in Thailand when I was in college, but yeah. So the trip was Toronto, where we left our car at the airport. Got delayed by a day because of bad weather.
What European country is Toronto in?
Well, we started in North America. I'm just saying Toronto was the departure point. So
was it the cheapest place to find a flight from?
It was. Yes.
Wow.
And I had credits when we got COVID last summer and we couldn't drive home from our conference. We had these Delta credits, and it paid for the flight to London. So that's why we
Holy
left
crap.
from Toronto. It was totally.
Very impressive.
I think I paid $50 for my flight to London. So, Toronto. I specifically remember on Facebook you were like, "Man, the skies. It's so like the smoke." And I'm in Toronto, and I'm like, "This is terrible." And also, my neighbors in Indiana are also like the same. Anyway, it was chaos there too. It was the air quality was terrible. So we had some drama the first 24 hours trying to get out of Toronto because of weather. But we got there. We flew into London. Immediately went to the British Museum.
British Museum of Natural History, baby.
Probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, it had this insane exhibit where it was like, here are handwritten Beatles lyrics from John Lennon and Paul McCartney. Here's the Magna Carta. Here are every major religion in the world. Here's their like foundational text. It's like 800, 2,000 years. I mean, it was incredible. Mind blowing. Also went to the Harry Potter shop at King's Cross.
They have one of those in Florida. I don't know why you had to go to Europe to celebrate Harry Potter.
I haven't been to Florida in over a decade, but I had time to kill at this train station, King's Cross,
Yeah.
and it was cool. I got
Is there a platform 9 3/4?
there is. Oh my gosh! And there were like hundreds of people lined up to take pictures there, and they were mostly adults. And I love Harry Potter, but I was embarrassed for them. But like anyway, it's fine. And then we took our train to York.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
How Europe is far, Betsy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like riding on an airplane to like California. So going all the way to Europe, it's a mental barrier for me.
It's probably about the same flight, isn't
Honestly,
it?
I mean, the flight there was really easy. We flew on KLM, which is like the Netherlands like flag here, bearer. All their like flight attendants were hilarious. They're like, wine, whatever you want. Like, and so Krista and I spent like that 8-hour flight just playing Battleship against each other and checkers, and it was like the best time. We didn't sleep at all, and we got there in the morning, and you've sat in the car for 8 hours before.
Yeah, but it's
It's
different.
funny though. He said I can't fly to Europe, but he's like 850 miles in a day, towing a camper, no problem.
I can do that because I'm in charge.
So
I can get out,
So this
I
is a
can
control
walk.
issue.
I'm not seat belted into a tiny ass seat.
I get it.
I've got all of that.
You only
available
built it in
to me.
for takeoff.
Betsy,
and
what's the
landing.
name of this program,
What program?
this podcast?
Boss Hog of Liberty.
Which was named against my will.
Because Jeremiah's bossy. He
Oh,
likes to be in charge.
It's not too bad to get to Europe, and then once you're there, like flights are either really cheap and easy, or you train everywhere.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. We trained up to York, which is like it's like south of Scotland, but it's like northern England, and we really. I've been studying the culture there. It's like London is New York City, but York is Indiana. Like you want to meet real Americans, not just
The heartland of
England
England is
so
the
York
north.
is Yorkshire's absolutely the heartland. So we got there.
The king of the north. Sorry.
Yeah, kind of. Krista, and part of this was planned in advance, and part of this was like last minute. So Krista's like, "We need somewhere to stay tonight," and I'm like, "Okay." So she books us at the Guy Fawkes Inn. Do you guys know Guy Fawkes?
Yeah,
Did you have to wear the masks?
Yes, we had to stay there. Remember the 5th of November. He was born on site, so this is now an inn and a pub, and we're like staying in one of these rooms. It's named after one of the.
Was he born in a manger outside the
No, it's
Oh.
nah, but
Different guy.
different guy.
Do you have to check in anonymously?
No, but it was really cool. It was really cool, and like literally,
That's all my Guy Fawkes jokes I have.
yeah, no, it was like amazing, and that's history to me. Like I learned that through V for Vendetta, which is like one of my all-time favorite movies about like Guy Fawkes and the insane plot to blow up Parliament. But anyway, you look out the window, and then there's York Minster, and York Minster is one of the most stunning cathedrals in the world. It is absolutely insane. Like it is amazing. And not only that, but I really wanted to see it because the first statue since Queen Elizabeth died was installed like probably 50 feet up on the front of York Minster, and
Statue of what?
Queen Elizabeth II, and who I'm named after. Legally I'm not Betsy. I'm Elizabeth Ann. So I really wanted to see it. It was breathtaking. It was just
No.
York was amazing.
Tell me about the statue. Is it young Queen Elizabeth?
No,
is
it's
it old lady Queen Elizabeth?
It's old lady Queen Elizabeth, which I
It's
think
the one
is,
we're familiar with.
yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, yeah, and so
It's like Naked Gun, Queen Elizabeth.
Sure. But it was really meaningful
This
to me.
whole show is for Zach's entertainment today.
Yeah. And when we toured York Minster, they're like, hey, you're good until this. And then we have all these vicars coming in to get, I don't know, ordained or some sort of, I didn't have the language for it, but it was like, this is a working cathedral. Like, this is an amazing site that's like 800 years old, but also like there are services, like things are happening. Anyway, if you go to Northern England, you will not regret seeing York Minster. It was absolutely outstanding.
That's something
Dakota notes that you were there for July 4th.
Yes. I actually, this was London time +5 for us, but I literally, as the 4th of July started in England, I was staring at Westminster Abbey and Parliament, and I was like, I'm spending the 4th of July in like the enemy's camp. You know, it was, I made a joke on Facebook that I was going to throw water balloons at Parliament. I did not, but it was just cool. Like we walked around.
Would it be fun to get a 30-day ban from Facebook while you're stuck in a foreign country trying to communicate with people on it?
England be fine. No,
just let him know that old George has still got shooters out here.
We saw a play in the West End, which was incredible and unexpected, and then we just walked around. We went to this pizza place. It's supposed to be the best pizza literally in the world. Like, they have two places, one in London and one in somewhere in Italy. I don't know. Anyway, the pizza was pretty okay. So
Boy, the people of Detroit would really
I've
be
had
better.
not better than Pizza King, baby.
Yeah. I've had better in Spiceland.
Trains
Yeah.
versus phones.
Yeah. But England was a ton of fun. Just being able to travel by train, and the trains are hilarious. Like, I mean, they go everywhere, but they're like mini pubs. Like, people are hanging out. Like, when we went to Halifax, which is in Yorkshire, and we wanted to see Shibden Hall and some other things from the show Gentleman Jack that we both really love. But like, there was a hen do going on in the train, and you're wondering, what is a hen do? Because that is unfamiliar. That's British speak for bachelorette party. So there's these like probably 30, like 630-something blondes.
Because they don't have a Nashville, Tennessee. They have to do it on their trains.
Well, no, they were going to Blackpool, but they're like, then they figured we were Americans, and no one cares if you're American in London, but if we had a bunch of British people walking around Newcastle, we'd be like, what are you doing here, man? Like, what's up? Do you know the king?
What's up with your voice?
But they like adopted us, and they were like, you could come with us to the party, like you can. And we were like, no, but they were like giving us White Claws and just.
So I've heard that the alcohol consumption in Europe is just insane.
It's insane.
Is it true?
Absolutely. Like, people are drinking everywhere all the time. Any cafe, they all sell alcohol, and. We did see a few drunk people. We saw there's some girl, it was like her 23rd birthday, and she was with her mom and her brother. She's hammered. She's bought 3 of the wrong train tickets. And so they're really strict. And the train chick was like, okay, it's the wrong ticket, but you tried to try. You spent, it's equivalent.
We got the revenue.
I'm just going to let that go. And it's hilarious. We saw that same train worker the next day, and I was like, how about that drunk girl who kept calling everybody silly gooses and telling that guy that he was irrelevant? Like, her trash talk was amazing. And she was like, yeah, if that had been anybody but me, they would have fined her hundreds of pounds. And
She was insulting them by saying you're irrelevant.
yeah, so it was like the 3 of them and the mom and brother like
This is
rolling
in
their eyes.
rural Britain, or this is in London?
This is like North Country, and she was talking. She was
They're
talking to
even
us.
pretentious in the country.
No, she was just hammered. It was her birthday, and it was like, if it's your birthday and you're drinking with your mom and your brother, why are you the one buying tickets? Because it's clearly not a good idea. But like, there was another guy in the car with us, and we were just chatting with him, and she just kept teasing him. She's like, "You're a silly goose. You're irrelevant." Anyway, it's not translating well now, but it was the trash talk was absolutely hilarious, and he took it in stride. And yeah.
So does a drunk British person sound like a sober American?
No.
Because Americans, when they're drunk, get a little bit of a British accent with the slurring of the words, and
Yeah, I don't know.
maybe more Australian.
Maybe. But it was funny, like, and like being out of like central, like big cities. They're interested. You're American. Chris and I have a tradition of doing mini golf on trips. Like, we always do mini golf somewhere. So we're in literally Halifax, which is not a big town, and we're playing mini golf, and some guy hears our accents. He's a young man, probably in his early 20s. He's like, "Do you know this YouTuber in America?"
Mr. Beast.
No, not him. It was someone else. His name was Danny Duncan because I went to school with Danny Duncan. I was like, I know a Danny Duncan. And that's not the YouTuber.
Well,
I have no idea who you're talking about.
I think I know who that is.
What was your favorite American
that up.
story to tell people? Favorite thing to relate as the ambassador from Indiana to tell people about what America was actually like?
They honestly like
To tell them about our
were
beautiful
like,
wind wind
America's
farms.
America's so much better.
Oh yeah.
America's so much better, or this or that. I'm like, you have really good things here. Like, I mean, I'm a very proud American, but
Did you brag about your county just
the,
having its bicentennial?
Danny
I
Duncan is
did
the. Sorry to interrupt. Danny Duncan is the guy that he popularized the shirts that say "Virginity Rocks." I'm sure that you saw.
Oh yeah.
High schoolers wearing those probably like last year.
this guy doesn't strike me as the type to be into that. But anyway, it was just hilarious. Like I told you in the Patreon, when you're in another country and people are like, you're an American, you must know this famous person. It's like, yeah, no,
Did you
but
say, well, do you know Elton John?
I should have.
Do you know the Queen? Like, just
Yeah. I loved talking. So growing up in my family, which was very fixated on the Royals, my mom's in the corner over there. At the hen do, I was like, so I need you to tell me, Harry and Meghan, what do you think? And they like went into this insane analysis where they're like, we'll take him back. We hate her. She's dead to us. Don't really like Charles. Big fan of Princess Anne. It was just hilarious. It was a good time.
They had the full opinion.
Oh yeah, and they were willing to share it. I was just like, I cannot wait to relay this to my mother, who spends.
Did they ask you what about our past couple presidents?
There were a few, and
Because I'd like to know how you explain them to the rest of the world.
I don't know that I can.
Since it's about 2008,
They're like-
since we made a choice that made any real
I mean,
sense.
I'm like,
They're like,
you know,
what did you think of Donald Trump?
USA.
Just very aggressive.
with Biden now, I'm just like, I think Uncle Joe's probably taking a nap at the moment. I don't know. I would really like a president below the age of 70.
Sleepy Joe.
Give me a smart, logical, non-firebrand to lead us into the future.
Mike Pence is right there, just eating pork sandwiches in Iowa, waiting
There was a Mike
for
Pence.
somebody to wake him up.
There was someone campaigning for Mike Pence at the Indiana State Fair yesterday. I saw him. I was like, wow. He was just one guy.
So, what country is Prague in?
Czech Republic.
The Czech Republic.
You're,
When
you're
I was-
skipping a site.
When
so
I was
you
very
probably-
young, it was Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you went from Europe. You went to Europe. You went to England,
yeah. So
and then Poland, then Czechoslovakia.
yeah.
Czech
So
Republic.
yes, and so just to finish about England, I grew up a very big fan of the Spice Girls. I have no regrets. Spice Girls forever. Girl power.
What's
but
a popular song by the Spice Girls? I'm blanking.
Wannabe? That's
You
you're
gotta
too young.
sing it. You gotta sing it.
Heck no. But anyway, so my favorite Spice
didn't
Girl.
fall for it.
I was like, there's got to be a concert in this country that we can go to. Like, I really want to. I British music is my favorite. And
Any
so-
concert, or you wanted a Spice Girls?
No, I wanted like one of my favorite British bands
Okay,
concerts. I miss
yeah.
and like Blur's one of my all-time favorites, and I missed them at Wembley by like one day, which really bummed me out. But Spice Girl Mel C, Sporty Spice, was having a show in Coventry, and so we got tickets for that. They were like $12. It was hilarious. It was like at the end of this musical festival, but I learned a lot about Coventry. I don't know how much you guys know about Coventry. Like, it was in World War II. Like, it was the Nazis' favorite place to bomb. And,
Really?
Yeah, and so Coventry was sort of the sacrifice of England in World War II. Like, Coventry, I mean, they lost a ton of people. The Coventry Cathedral we visited, it's like there's a new site. Like, there's this bombed out church that has walls left, and there was a cross left, and so it's like this incredible historical display. And what I was really moved by was, like, the Nazis really went after Coventry. Like, Coventry could have a huge beef against violence, against. I mean, they were the spot in England that absolutely took it on the chin over and over.
Did you get an explanation? Like, what was the reasoning?
It was like a manufacturing It's
so
not
there's
far
a lot
from
of
London.
industry there?
Yeah, so
Okay.
so that was
It was like Detroit
yeah, it was
or
strategic.
Cleveland. Yeah.
Yeah, and they couldn't stop it, and it was really bad. And they lost a lot of that city. But like Coventry has done all this like reconciliation stuff with like places in Germany where they're like, hey, we went to a museum in Coventry where they're like Coventry's like mascot is this like giant dinosaur. They call him Dippy. It's like Diplosaurus. I don't even know. So we go to this museum to see Dippy because Dippy is like a big deal. Guess what? Dippy is from Wyoming. So the mascot of Coventry of England is literally an American.
That's
It's like
spectacular.
Okay,
I thought
cool.
you were
Well,
gonna
the
say it
Statue of
looked-
Liberty is French, so it
Yeah,
cuts
yeah,
both
yeah.
ways.
Yeah,
I thought you were
anyway.
going to say it looked like the Sinclair dinosaur or something.
It kind of did actually. That's
Oh,
like
there
kind
we
of
go.
the shape, yeah. But-
Breaking news: there's a Sinclair dinosaur on display on Wilburette Road
really?
in New Lisbon. The old
Oh,
Llewellyn
yes,
place
yeah.
is now a
Yeah.
motorcycle shop / I don't even know. It's State Road 3 motorcycles, but they've got all the signage and whatnot. All right, so then Poland and Prague. You went to Poland 2 years ago? Last year, right after the war broke out. You did some humanitarian work over there.
Yeah, and we sort of just lucked into that. But this was not humanitarian, and we really wanted to volunteer. So Krista had a conference there. That's what took us there, back to Warsaw. And I really wanted to volunteer with refugees like I did last year. And all the programs were like, we need you for a minimum of a month. And I was just like, I'm going to be here for 6 days. Like,
Yeah.
I can't do that. I should have said, one of the families we worked with last year, who they got visas to England. We had dinner with them. They had us at our house.
Oh, wow. That's
yeah,
awesome.
a mom and her 3 kids, and we really connected with them when we met last year, and it was a pretty emotional experience. But now they're in their house. They're all set up in Harrogate, which is also in Yorkshire. And I didn't even realize where they were in England. And she was like, "You're so close to us. Come have dinner." And just to see her with their little girls, and they're settled, and they like knowing where
They're
were.
living life again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
knowing where they were a year ago, with the girls they just look so tired, and they'd just been traveling Europe for months, just bouncing around on visas and trying to. They've had a year in a safe space, and anyway, there was a squirt gun fight in the house. That was my fault. But like we had this great dinner, and it was just so sweet to see them again and know that they're thriving in England. But yeah, Poland. I couldn't believe the difference between last year and this year. Like literally everywhere you look, there'd be Ukrainian flags. Everywhere, all the time. People wearing them, blue and gold, everything. And this year was like much, much more subdued. Like Poland opened its doors for half a year, and then
Yeah.
it just kind of shut down.
I've heard that about Germany. So Germans' support of Ukrainian efforts has waned, and it's mainly because they felt some real pains due to their energy crisis over there.
Right.
Is Poland? Do you think it's something similar? I mean, geographically, they're there, but I don't know if they share the same energy policies.
Yeah, I don't think it's energy based. Based on an article I read back in the fall, it was just like Poland was saying we're exhausted. Like Warsaw went from like 1 million people to 2 million people in like a month, and so all this influx of people hosting people they've never met before. The thing about Poland is that like Poland was absolutely Hitler's number one place to just cause pain.
It was the
And-
first
Right.
invasion point.
Yeah, Auschwitz, all of it. Like Hitler especially hated the Polish, and so they like know that history of being attacked unfairly, and so I think that caused them to open their doors incredibly generously, and then the welcome sort of wore out, and I could definitely feel that at this time, where it's just like, okay, it's just
We've done
different.
what we can.
Yeah,
Right.
and our people are exhausted, and that's not fair to Ukrainians who literally are just. I don't know. It was weird walking through the central train station in Warsaw. Like last year, that's where we worked. That's where like we fed people food and helped people, and in this giant tent, and like all that was gone. And so when we were taking our train to Prague, we left from there, and it was just like, wow, we were
Circus moved out of town.
Oh yeah, I mean it was just was interesting. It was a weird feeling. But,
So, were you able to visit any like World War II heritage sites?
Yeah. So like Coventry had a lot of stuff, and like in Poland, no, not this time. I mean, there's monuments everywhere.
Just stuff everywhere.
Yeah. We did go to the museum of the like the history of like the Polish Jews, and it goes back like all the way back, like not just like the last 100 years. And that was a really heavy but interesting museum, really well collected. And we went to this like other museum that was like modern art, and it was just videos of different like feminist movements, and I didn't know what to expect, but it was kind of wild. And anyway, the
Was it like
docents
the
were
Barbie
very,
movie.
no, it was not. It was a little bit of everything, and we were both like, whoa, this is maybe too much. So I very rarely feel that way, but that museum was like something else, and they hated us because we were Americans and stupid and didn't understand their Polish. So
Was Poland the place you felt least loved as an American?
Absolutely, yeah. And like Prague, everybody speaks really good English. Poland, it's totally hit or miss.
Oh, really? Huh.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and like that's on you. Like you're the traveler. If you're not from there, like it's on you to figure it out. Like it's not their job to host you and make
A
sure.
lot of Google Translate.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And Krista's way better at that than I am. She learns like please and thank you and enough to just be gracious. And I'm like, I just thumbs up like thanks. Like, but she's good at that.
All right. So then on to Prague and then back home.
Yeah, not quite. So Prague was okay, I'm going to say this incorrectly, but like I'm in the ballpark here. So like at one point Prague was the home of like the Catholic Church. And this is a city with incredible history in the Czech Republic, which is a new republic. It used to be
It was, in the 80s there was a change, right? It was
Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
Now we have they're separated, and they're both democracies, and they fought really, really hard for their democracies, and so they're very patriotic, which I think is amazing. Prague is, it's old. Like you walk around, and you're like, these streets are like not even a car. Like like we got into a few traffic jams because the roads are like so hilariously small. Something that was really meaningful. We walked back to we stayed at a very fancy hotel. I didn't realize how fancy it was, but it was a good price. We walked across the Charles Bridge, which is like one of the main features in Prague, and it's got all this like Christian imagery. It's from 1402, so it's like super old.
That
it's
is
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah, and like seeing Prague Castle.
that is 90 years before Columbus came over to the Bahamas.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's an Instagram account that I follow. It's called English Pilgrim, and he's a dude that he goes and does video. He documents these historic cathedrals all across Europe that have been forgotten, when they're all from like the Middle Ages.
That
and
sounds
it's
so
like
cool.
there's cemeteries there, but everything's like will be overtaken with vines and things, and it's just really cool. And you've been talking about all this, and the history in Europe is so much deeper than what it is here as far as recorded history, right?
Absolutely.
But it's kind of mind-boggling.
It is like, and like on the world stage, we're literally puppies. Like our country's, 200 and something years old. Like, I am so proud to be an American and what that stands for. But like also, the rest of the world's been living a lot longer, and I don't know. I think it's really humbling to go to these spaces that are so much older.
It's enlightening to see other, to add to the culture, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you here, is because we don't all get a firsthand experience of that. Some of us are adverse to an 8-hour plane ride.
You can do it if you believe in yourself.
So were you working as you went over, or it's summer for you, so you didn't have to work as much?
Oh no, I'm teaching now. So Toronto we left from because of cheap flight, but also we were coming back to there for a conference. So England was fun. Poland was a conference for Krista I had nothing to do with. And then Prague was just fun. And then when we flew back into Toronto, we both had a mutual conference. So our universities have helped us pay for the vacation as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're back. The day job that most people know you for, not the education side, but as a Henry County council person.
Yeah, so we are in the middle of budget sessions. The council has been meeting Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday, the last 2 weeks. I have not been in attendance, and that's because I got COVID literally the day of. Krista came home from another conference. That's what we do in the summer week conference. And she got COVID on the last day, had to drive home from Minneapolis, which I felt so bad about. And I inevitably got it because that's what happens. Anyway, so I have missed the last 2 weeks of budget. This is the first time I've been in public. One of the first times I've been in public, and I've been testing negative for about a week. But this is the third time I've had it, fully vaxxed. It really, there was one day last week I woke up at like 3 p.m. Like it just absolutely knocked me out. So I can give an overview of the budget and how we go about that, but the specifics are, I'm not going to be the best member of council to explain that right now. And things are still in flux. We meet tomorrow at 8 a.m. and we have some big decisions to make.
So there's a process where the council comes together and does work sessions where department heads and the council meet and get together and work through that.
Yes.
And then ultimately you'll get where everybody votes on a final budget.
That's right. And since I've been on council, this is my fourth year. Fourth year. 2020, 1, 2, yep. So basically every department head or elected official turns in their department's budget. And we go through it line by line by line. And we compare, hey, you used this much last year. Do you need that much this year? Because you didn't use as much. It's a trust exercise. I mean, a lot of it's like, hey, do you need that? Yes, I need that. Okay, I hear you. And it's hard. I mean,
because every department head is asking for more, right? They're advocating for their department.
Not necessarily. It's a total mix. Like some like swing for the fences, and it's like, come on, man, you know the score. Like we're not going to be able to do that. And others are really gracious, and it's just a total mix. But like
my old boss used to say, if a man does not ask for what he wants, he will not receive what he needs. That was his way of saying, if you don't shoot high, then you won't get anything.
I mean, that's true. That's true. Like, but also we don't have the money. Like COVID hit us. Inflation is absolutely murdering us. We can't pay market wage for most of our positions. We're just competing with the private sector. There are real problems, and like the revenue has still been pretty healthy, but we're dealing with the state, and I'm not targeting any elected official in specific, but the legislature sits on billions in reserves, and they're like, we're such amazing fiscal heroes. Look at us, and then we look like villains. I told the Courier Times that, like, we look like such I have to vote to pass this tax to fund 911. There's no other option. Like we've exhausted those options.
That's the conversation we've had on the show many times, is that the state will not raise the tax. They will put the gun in the hands of the counties and then say, you have to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So you have to be the ones. We gave you the tools to fix it. Henry County, if you choose not to fix this, it's on you.
Right.
That's why we didn't really talk about it that much on the show. I mean, we had John Sproul's on. He talked about it, and we covered it before that. But it was kind of like, Butch made it really clear. He said, if we still want a 911 center, then this is what has to happen. There's not an option. So it was like, great. The hands are tied once more.
Right.
Just like it was with the jail issue.
Yeah, and I actually did not vote on the PSAP tax because the first, I guess we weren't voting that night, but they had a special meeting. I was in Prague. It was 10 p.m. I'm in my hotel. Kennan's also on vacation. We're Zooming in. There's some sort of tech issue on the courthouse end. We didn't get to Zoom in, but Travis asked me what were my thoughts on the PSAP, and it's like, I am a very fiscally conservative person. Like the less the government gets, the better. All of it. You deserve to spend your money. You know how to spend it better than your government can, in general. And the PSAP tax, I mean, here's a loaded gun. Like, there's no way around that. And we paid specialists to analyze it over and over and make sure we weren't missing anything. So it was going to be insolvent in 2026. So
has the state designed counties to almost be obsolete, where you don't really get to be as autonomous as you want to be? Like, as a council, you've got a tax cap. You can't really pay people what you'd like to pay them. Like, are there that many levers to pull for if you're not Marion County,
right? Or
That's
Hamilton,
different, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, for the 80 counties that are kind of in between.
Yeah, I mean, every time I go to like a regional meeting with county council members or whatever, it's been just a total gripe session about, man, the state's really screwing us over and making our jobs impossible. And so, yeah, I didn't have to vote on the PSAP tax because of whatever. I fully support it, and I hate to say I support raising a tax, but it had to happen.
Well, you're not running for election until next year. So
I stand by my words.
So I'm now sitting on the Sheriff's Department Merit Board, and
cool.
one of the roles we have is hiring and staffing the Sheriff's Department. A lot of the folks in the Sheriff's Department have taken notice that the state of Indiana, in their new budget, has found all kinds of money for the Indiana State Troopers. So a trooper now, baseline first day, is going to make $70,000. A 15-year trooper is going to make $112,000. If you're a patron, by the way, you get the show notes, and they're dropped in a little private Facebook group each and every week. There's a little clickable link in there with the schedule, the matrix as to who makes what and how it goes.
So it's basically the troopers make $70,000, and then, but that is for what? That is what's
Day one.
So then, what makes the $12,000 jump to $82,000?
Yeah, that's the schedule here. So if there's an infographic that I pulled up for the moment, but if I actually pull up the linked document, drum roll, slow rolling, clicking, click, click, click. There's like the Indiana State Troopers have put this pay matrix out. A trainee is going to make $60,000. As soon as you get an actual trooper job, you're going to make $70,000, and a regular trooper is going to make $112,000 15 years in.
Honestly, they deserve it. Like I think we should pay teachers. I think we should pay police. I think they're both
right. But the problem is that that's the state doing that part,
right.
Right.
Well, and it totally screws us up.
So state they're going to have the pick of the litter. They've said, hey, we're going to pay. We're in the 40s for, and I think that maybe that's going to adjust a little bit here from the county.
Yeah.
But you're going to say, hey, you've got a fully trained sheriff's deputy for any county. State troopers can go double your money damn near instantaneously by going there.
And they poach our people. Like we put them through, ILEA. Like they go through the academy, they're qualified, and then they can jump to a better job. And so that costs the county money. This is going to be a long-term issue. Like us competing with. I mean, we've been competing with, like, from the county perspective, with Newcastle. They're able to pay more, and it's not for lack of wanting. Like, I could not be more pro-police, being a former police dispatcher. Like, a lot of my friends are police. Like, it's we don't have it. We don't have it, and we try. I mean, I've worked with 2 different sheriffs. I want them to have what they need, and I trust them to know what they need. It's just really, really hard because the county doesn't have the money. And so the solution to that is, I mean, it'd be nice if more of that money, those $6 billion in reserves trickled down to us because we could spend that more effectively. It'd be nice if they could subsidize some of it. It's a mess. It's a total mess, and the sheriff has to advocate for his agenda and what he needs, and I respect that completely. And if we had it to give, I'd vote for it.
So many of the issues that the council deals with sounds like are really state oriented, but you don't see a whole lot of quick, agile change coming from the state.
No, it's not. And like again, I respect our representatives and senators. Like, there's a lot of good people in the state house, and it's like they forget that most of them came from local government, and so they get there and they're like, oh well. I'm going to be a hero, and you guys, here's the ability to pass. You can pass more taxes. That'll be fun for you. And I hate that, but I don't know. We just keep advocating.
Yeah, Tom Saunders was on the show quite a number of times, and he was always keen to fill us in on how state legislating worked, I guess would be the appropriate way to phrase it. And it wasn't so much as what you think, because whenever we learn in our civics classes and our government classes in high school, it's we're learning about how it was done in 150 years ago,
Right.
and it's just nothing is the same.
It's so messy, and the legislation I've worked on for various reasons. Like I know a lot of lobbyists and yeah, all of it. Like working through the legislative process, it is so messy, and you guys know that. Like it's just
You think you know how the government works, and then someone says, "Yeah, he's the
Nah.
House Majority Whip," and you're like, "What?" So yeah, it's just
Yeah.
there's a lot of it's like an onion.
That's a great analogy or metaphor. I don't know the difference, but I'm always like, I don't know. It's one or the other.
I don't know, but it sounds violent.
No, but it is really messy, and I wish it were more simple. And at the county level, like I just want to say I super appreciate my colleagues the last 2 weeks, like what I've been able to tune into.
So with the budget, whenever you're allocating the funds, just to circle back for a second here,
Sure.
Are there a lot of hard decisions that you have to make? Like, is the council going this year? We really need to focus on getting our sheriff's department paid, and
Yes.
that is going to make. That means we have to cut from here, and here.
It's not so much cutting, like it's just where to distribute. And so when we were entangled with the ACLU and that lawsuit, it was like, we need to fund these jail officer positions. Like that is part of this federal lawsuit. Like we have to fund it. We have to try to fill it too, but we have to fund it. So we have to set that money aside. Every year's been different. Like, and like, I believe in my council. Like, it's been good leadership, and it's been a lot. We could not be more open. And I know that there's always skepticism or like, what's your agenda? And it's like, we literally want to pass a black budget. We literally want to keep things moving as efficiently and effectively as possible. It's hard, especially with the constraints of the last couple of years. And so, I don't know. I regret that I haven't been around the last 2 weeks. I've tried to contribute when I could, and I also sent pizza on Friday. They had so they started at like 8 a.m, and they were supposed to break out for lunch, and they didn't because they had a 2.5 hour, which unscheduled, meeting with the sheriff and everybody, and it's like 2:30 in the afternoon. They're like, we're all dying, like we're starving. So I sent them pizza and salads and breadsticks. I was like, that's my contribution. I'm not there physically. I'm definitely not working through it mentally with you because I'm COVID-y and foggy, but I can send you food. So
I mean, this was not planned, and if you don't know the answer, then just tell me.
Sure.
But the sheriff is in a lawsuit right now, and with the ACLU
with Mr. Bilberry.
And does that if he loses that lawsuit or he has to settle, then does that come from the county? Is it coming from the sheriff's department budget? Is it a personal lawsuit? How does that? Do you know?
Really don't know, and I know there's a little bit of precedent, but
The only reason I'm asking is I've had people ask me.
Sure, I don't know. It's honestly, and maybe it's because I'm not there, and I haven't been there in person in a couple weeks, like Europe and then COVID. I would assume a settlement would be coming. If
I would hope you have insurance that's going to pay.
Oh,
out
we
for
do.
liability.
We do. Yeah.
I mean, if the county's
that makes
financial,
sense.
you're not going to pay directly out of the county.
No.
You have an insurance policy
Yeah.
that protects the
We
county.
do, and like that's been tested in recent years. But yeah, I mean, the mechanism.
But it's not like if you lose a county lawsuit, you have to fire 20 people.
No.
So-
It's not like that at all.
Traditionally, what is the biggest line item in the budget?
People.
I hate to keep talking. People.
It's head count.
Insurance, and our insurance used to be way in the red, and Kennan and others have walked that back and made really good decisions to put us in the black. It's people, it's insurance, it's perf, just like state benefits. It's a lot of it is public safety, and I don't just mean sheriff's department, but and I know I keep mentioning that I'm ridiculously supportive of all of them. It's just that's our number one priority. Like, and if you think about government, like what is actually local government? What should it be? I think our number one priority is probably public safety. So like we always need to make sure that's taken care
always.
of. So
And not, like you said, not just law enforcement, but
yeah, all of it. And
Yeah, I mean, if local government can get the fire trucks, the ambulances, the police cars to show up on time, not have potholes, get the snow plowed, trash
Right.
picked up, clean water, clean sewers, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
right? Those are the basic block and tackles that people care about and people see.
yeah, and there's so much government to me that's like, why does that exist? What does that office do? What's your purpose? And then, I mean, public safety is what it is. It's number one. So we need to keep our people safe. When there are emergencies, we need responders. Funding that is getting more and more and more complicated.
How about libraries? Any library drama in Henry County?
Speaking as the daughter of a librarian, retired, Middletown, no drama here that I know of. But I hear there's weird things happening in Hamilton County.
Hamilton County has a library board. I've never seen a library board make news like the Hamilton County Library Board has in the last 6 months. Here's the way this played out. And this, I'm a little cynical,
Mm-hmm.
but our friend Rob Kendall has a friend, Micah Beckwith.
Yeah, I'm supposed to meet with him sometime.
Micah is on this board, and this board has found a way to be in the news about once a month for the last 6 to 8 months. About a month ago, Micah announced that he's running for lieutenant governor. I don't know if there's a coincidence or not.
Oh no, it's totally coincidence.
Just a
Don't
shock.
Even, don't even look behind this. Yeah.
Just a shock.
no attention.
So the board has been moving books around, and a couple months ago, our syndicator Chris Spangle had a lovely lunch with Micah, and Chris was placated by Micah, who said, "No, listen, we're not banning books. We're not doing anything we shouldn't do. We're just making sure that explicit books aren't in the children's section." Okay.
And I've seen some books
Yeah,
like
yeah.
online that I'm like, good Lord, that was in a library. Like
I was about to say.
I have seen things on the internet. I'm like, that is not okay.
So-
Yeah.
They do exist, but
So this week, one of the the Hamilton County libraries, the Hamilton East Library, moved The Fault in Our Stars, which is a John Green book. John Green, a Central Indiana
native,
author, very famous TikToker, YouTuber, driver of the pace car of the inaugural Grand Prix of Indianapolis. Zach,
Yep.
big IndyCar fan. John wrote this book. Employs 115 people apparently in Hamilton
I saw
County.
that. Yeah.
And they moved his book and basically essentially said, "Yeah, this is not teen. It's an award-winning." He wrote a scathing letter on Twitter yesterday.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, the letter was really good.
yeah,
He's
It's almost like
Exactly
a
on point.
professional author wrote it.
Yeah, almost. But like, okay, I'm gonna tell you something. So I'm vice chair of our Republican Party here in Henry County, and our chairman is Todd Hyday, who I adore. And just the best dude. And so we were getting ready for our Lincoln Day fundraiser back in April, and we had Greg Pence, and it was a good time. But so we're running errands, and this is when the book ban conversation began. He's like, "What about like Catcher in the Rye, like Catcher in the Rye? Sorry, not Dry. Jeez, sorry, Mom. Catcher in the Rye. Literally,
Catcher in the Dry is sold at Walmart.
yeah, one of the most famous books of all time. And you've got like Holden Caulfield, who's like this young man, and he's a young man. He's a teenager. There are thoughts of sex, and it's like, okay, there's nothing like explicit happening here, but like this is talking about a teenager who's doing teenager things. And that book's getting banned, even though it's like considered one of the greatest American young
Right.
adult books of all time. And where's the sense in that? Like, yes, if you're 6 years old, you should not be reading that book. You probably can't read that book, but like, young adults deserve to see.
It's called Young Adult.
Right, representation. And again, I'm not arguing for pornography. I've seen some really freaky things. I wish I could just, just cleanse myself up. Like that does not belong anywhere near a kid. But come on, The Fault in
Yeah,
Our
it is,
Stars.
yeah. And it's just like, so this is permeated in it's permeated everywhere where the nuance is completely
Yeah.
removed from the conversation.
And
where you go, this is the rule. We are taking anything that mentions sex out of the young adult and children's section of the library. And then you go, oh, these two teenagers in the book, it's not even like it's a sex scene. It's just implied that they lose their virginity to each other.
Right.
And they're like, it's got to go. It mentions it. That's our rule. Yeah, but where's the nuance here? This is a book about teenagers, written for teenagers, that has won awards.
Well, does any
that
book
section.
that depicts, David and Bathsheba, does that get banned, or like, what are we going to do with that? Like, it's just. Can we trust librarians? And I think we can. I haven't lost trust in librarians to know what is appropriate and what's not.
Here's my thing: if your kid comes home with a book,
or
or you
parent,
see a book in the library, you go, "What the hell is this doing here?" And I want it taken out.
So
It's just a conversation. Like, why are we so afraid to confront someone that we pass on all of this strange responsibility to a board that cannot have the problem is these boards and the people who make sweeping decisions, there's not much room for nuance, because how are you going to write that into the rules?
Yeah, and that's where you have to trust your experts, and we're not doing that. And and by the way, by banning The Fault in Our Stars, how many more kids are going to relocating? How many more kids are going to read that book? It always backfires. It always backfires. The logic is so stupid, and we have hundreds of years of context.
I've got the John Green letter here, an excerpt. He says, "I've sold more than 40 million books as a resident of Central Indiana, which is good news for the tax revenue of the state and the local economy generally. We are, after all, home to the world's largest book warehousing operation.
Didn't know
It's the
that.
best-selling book ever to be set in Indiana, and he employs 115 people, several of whom live in Fishers and Noblesville. I'm your neighbor. I'm absolutely horrified by the decision of some members of your board to override a huge body of expertise and deem hundreds of books, including mine, inappropriate to be shelved as young adult literature. One of the novels you pulled off the shelves was the Michael L. Prince Award as Best Young Adult Novel, according to leading librarians in the U.S. Another was awarded to the Corin Book Prize, the highest award for young. We have to change the way X works is not great anymore. Young adult literature in Germany. Other books on the list include Judy Blume's Forever and Laurie Hals Anderson's Speak, which are widely viewed as the classics of young adult literature. It's political theater of the lowest and most embarrassing order. It's an awful way to have Noblesville and Fishers make the national news."
Yeah, all of that.
I will say,
the cool thing is that he's literally a citizen. Like he's not just some fly-by. He's not just some national artist coming over the top on the Hamilton County Library Board. He's a resident here, and he's a member of the community.
And a taxpayer and a tax generator, and he actually advocates for Indiana. He's a cheerleader.
Yeah. He's kind of like
this week. He's been on Twitter, calling people out for crapping on Indiana.
He's like a Dave Letterman kind of guy who's you can't. He's mentioned as like, who's your writer? Like that's part of his identity, and he's made sure it was part of his identity.
The thing is I totally understand the policy where it's coming from too. So I genuinely see both sides of the coin. But I just don't think that responsibility falls on the board of the library. It falls on. I mean, where's your parent going? Hey,
ultimately that's a parent responsibility.
Hey, what book is this you're reading? Oh, okay, I see. What is this? I wonder what 50 Shades of Grey is about. Is it appropriate for my 14-year-old? You go, what book is that? I'm going to look it up on Google. It takes 3 seconds on my phone that's in my pocket, and then I go, oh, that's not appropriate. We need to take that back.
It'd be just as easy just to have a system where if a teenager checked out a book and it was like, it was within like a category that was questionable, just you can have it go so it automatically sends an email to the parent and just attacks the account and says, hey, just a heads up.
It's not like when you go to the library. It's like going into a family video in the 1990s where the adult section of the library is behind the doors.
Oh, I accidentally dropped something below that curtain.
It's just simply the top floor of the library versus being in the basement. That's the only difference between. It's just where they put it in there.
The funniest thing about this kind of stuff is the absolute ignorance on any parent's part that they think that moving books around like this is going to somehow squelch a child's growing into adulthood until they're 18. Like, it's an absolute farce for parents to think that, well, if I don't expose my kid to anything, then they're just going to be this pure angel that doesn't see or
Right.
find anything until they're in college. And if you are successful, by the way, in the minute case that you're successful, as somebody who went to college, those kids get to college and go absolutely
lose their
Preacher's
minds.
kids.
insane.
They lose
PKs.
their-
Because they
Right.
have had
Yeah.
because instead of allowing them to be exposed to this stuff when they're going through that in the right time frame with some control, because you can help kind of guide them, you get them where there's no guidance, there's
It's
no
just-
supervision.
It's just like the parents who don't let their little kids eat sugar, and
Oh.
then they go to someone's house for a birthday party and
and
eat a
eat an
bunch of
entire
cake,
box of of
Right. It's a
like
total
Fruit
bender.
and
Loops.
then they go insane.
They go insane, but
They
like
go nuts.
I mean, it was with anything. Like I said, going to college, you see those kids, and they literally have no control. There's no check in their brain because their parents have been absolutely keeping them under their thumb the entire time. So
I read Game of Thrones when I was in high school. And
I was reading-
I
I was reading,
guarantee that that wasn't appropriate by these rules.
I read Hunt for Red October when it was in 7th grade. Like, there's Russian guys just getting their necks broken.
Yeah.
Like, I was reading Tom Clancy novels in 7th grade, and so it's the same as like, and half these parents like, oh, don't play this video game, oh, or like, don't read this book, and they don't watch their kid playing Grand Theft Auto.
Oh,
Which
right.
is the same,
Right.
like, or don't, like, what are they watching on
Hey,
YouTube or
hey,
anything else? But
Darling, your child is buying hookers in a video game.
So here's
and
the
then
deal.
killing them and taking the money back when they're done.
And guess what? They're literally called hookers in the video game, okay?
I don't think this board is about. It's not about the kids.
No.
I still think it's what John Green said. It's about the politics of it,
It's a
or
political
advancing.
flex.
People are
Yeah.
advancing their status or their stature based on
it's
being able
culture
to do
war.
this.
It's an arms race of woke versus anti-woke. So they're like, it's so funny to see a group, they're so mad that woke people are doing this or that, and they can't define woke. And so then they're doing the same thing, just with a different agenda on the other side, and they're somehow justifying it. It's the same game.
Yeah.
John Phillips is in the chat, and he said he did a 7th grade book report on the Hunt for Red October.
That's awesome.
I had no idea there were so many Jack Ryan people in this group.
And like, can we trust young people to a certain degree? Like,
Absolutely not, Betsy. Are you insane?
no, but frustrated. But like, really, it's part of a developing mind. You're curious. You need to learn about the world. We do that through reading. That's it. And I,
At
again,
this point, just be happy your 8th graders reading.
You know, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
on Snapchat 24/7, which is, by the way, social media is absolutely destroying
Way
our young
worse.
people. Yeah.
So, and this is on the social media
They're
side.
probably going to be giving nickels and dimes to those weird NPC ladies.
Oh my
that are on
gosh,
TikTok
that is so
next.
weird.
the correlation that I had, and it's the stepping on somebody else's back to elevate your profile. You guys probably don't know who Noah Gragson is. He's a
I do because
rookie.
of the chat.
He is a rookie NASCAR Cup Series driver. He got hired this year to drive a car for Jimmy Johnson. There's a motorsports reporter by the name of Daniel McFadden who writes for some Arkansas-based, very small organization, and he might be do some web writing for some national stuff. He found that Noah Gragson liked an Instagram meme in 2020, 3 years ago. Or, I'm sorry, 2022. So
Yeah.
3 years ago, when he was 22 years old. He's
2022 was last year.
yeah, okay, all right. He was 22 years old 3 years ago in
Okay, it was
2020.
2020. Okay.
And it was a George Floyd related thing, and it was not in good taste. Very well could have been a double click at 2 a.m, and this guy went back and found that he had liked it, screenshotted it, blew the thing up. The team in NASCAR suspended him a week ago for the race last week, and then this week he and the team have parted ways. So they ended his career over liking a meme 3 years ago, when he's 2 years before he's had 2 jobs since then.
Which could have been accidental.
Potentially. And he
Potentially,
he apologized profusely, yada yada yada. But my view is that if we were held to this standard, none of us would have jobs. There's no way. There's no way in the world.
Yeah.
Which the response to this, Elon Musk made a tweet that said, if you receive disciplinary action or are fired from your job for responding to a tweet on this platform, which is now X, then Twitter will fund all the legal battles. And he also said, we will not do it quietly, we will do it loudly.
That's what Poland told. That'll last 6 months.
Right. But I did see a lady who said that she got fired from her job for liking a tweet, and he told her to send him a DM. So who knows?
Yep.
Maybe he's being for real.
That'll last for a little while.
Yeah.
I have a problem when somebody goes after somebody's career just simply to elevate them, and
I don't
that's
see-
what it appears this fella did.
There's
and
so
I kind of
much.
feels like that's what's happening with this Hamilton County board.
But see, the weird thing is I don't understand who cares. No one cares. Any corporation that is looking at that and is going to fire that guy, if there even is any kind of outrage, they're making decisions based on the smallest minority of people that are just being loud on the internet. 90% of the NASCAR fan base, they might not even know who the guy is, let alone care about what meme he liked 3 years ago.
I'll say this though:
It's insane.
They all know who he is because he's been a pain in the ass for his time in Xfinity.
I mean, either way, so maybe
he does have a bit of a thing where
I think it was a convenient way for them to get rid of him because there's been some changes in the organization and they were looking for a way to get rid of him.
And he has some baggage with him, just his overall behavior, so which didn't help him. So yeah, he's the kind of guy who probably should have paid somebody to go through and scrub his social media because he was pushing it on the track in such a way that he wasn't particularly popular.
But
so
what this does to me, Dakota and Zach, is that it tells me that if I'm a public figure, I'm deleting all of these apps. I'm not going to tweet for myself. I'm not going to run Instagram for myself. I'm not going to have somebody can do it for me. And if I need something that's going to promote me, they can put it out there. But I'm going to completely abstain from doing anything under my name because it only hurts me. Cost me my career. They're going to put up walls.
Hey, all I needed to, I thought that whenever John Sproles was getting sued for the most recent lawsuit he's in with the ACLU. You know, if I was ever elected to office, the first thing I'd do is just delete everything, scrub it all, go dark. You don't need to know anything.
yeah, just let somebody handle social media for this department.
Right. You have the sheriff's department page. But I'm just saying that's an example of where the world is at. If you're a public figure, then just get rid of it. The risk is not worth the reward of having a social media presence. And I'd probably have some sock accounts where no one knew who I was so that I could just hang out and watch funny videos or whatever. But you know, I'm not going to be on Facebook in any kind of public capacity.
I'd hide myself completely.
There's no way.
Yeah, well,
it's insane.
And I'm in the position where there are so many articles I read where I'm like, this is really provocative or interesting, and I'd love to get the take of like people I respect. And I know if I post it, it's going to be a dumpster fire where like, you know, liberals, conservatives, everybody beating the crap out of each other, and it's like, just read the article, give me your take. Like, what do you think? Like, let's talk. Let's have a nuanced conversation. And it's impossible.
It happened to me when I shared because I was pretty irritated with this Gregson story because I really thought, and I still believe, that it was Toyota is going to replace Chevrolet, and I think the Toyota people wanted to make a change and move a driver into the seat, and this was a convenient way for them to do it. But I really think it was disingenuous. It was just simply a way to replace him. But
Right.
I posted my take, and then people are in there defending the meme, and that's not the point, right? Right. You
The
shouldn't.
meme is so far removed from the conversation.
Well, and there's no grace. Like, people screw up. Like, if somebody says, "Hey, I screwed up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry."
Suspend the guy. Sure. Don't
I've
end
been-
a career.
I've been educated. I understand better. I will do better. Like, if it's sincere and they mean it, why can't we show grace? And I'm not saying everybody deserves grace, but like, there's just no capacity for that. It's like, oh, you step out of line, you're executed. And I just think that's so ugly and so unchristian, and just, it's not helping anyone.
So while we're on the topic of sports, how is women's soccer going?
It's good for everybody but America. England's crushing it. Sweden beat us in the round of 16. I personally am a huge fan of the Australians, the Matildas. I think they're brilliant. They have the best player in the world, and Sam Kerr. I am a huge, like, my teams are Ball State, the Indianapolis Colts, and the United States of America, specifically our women's soccer team. And they've been getting beat up a lot in social media, and it's really kind of ticked me off. And
Well, at least they're getting noticed.
but they're the best program in the world, and they got knocked out early. They literally won
This
the
is
last two World Cups.
Brandy
They
Chastain
are
20 years ago to now, right? Like
Yeah,
this is
like
the program.
the girls of '99, like, which I will remember that game for the rest of my life. Where I was,
I will too, but for different reasons.
okay,
Just the end.
Yeah, oh yeah, and like the World Cup in 2011, that game where Megan Rapinoe, it was U.S. versus Brazil. I think it was semis, but Megan Rapinoe, who is a very controversial figure in America, made one of the most clutch moves I've seen in any sport ever, and put this cross up, and Abby Wambach headed it in. They won the game in extra time. That was the last sporting event I got to watch with my dad before he died. And so for me, that's like insanely meaningful. And my dad, my sister, we were all watching this game and freaking out. And that play is literally one of the greatest. It's amazing. It's amazing. You can find it on YouTube. And I have no more to say about Megan, but that play is absolutely outstanding. And so I've been a diehard for this team for a long time. And like, I'm really kind of ticked off at conservative media, because they're mad at the team for not singing the national anthem enthusiastically before the game. When have we ever required athletes to do that?
Don't they just stand there somberly?
Yes,
That's generally what
many
you do.
of them are like, I'm thinking
And
about.
preferably most prefer that you don't take a knee.
Right.
Otherwise, we don't really care.
They were all standing, and like different players talk about how they use that. They're like, I just think about my country and how much it means to me. Like Tobin Heath, who's one of my favorite players, she's like, I pray in that moment. Like, I pray to God that, I thank him for my talent, and I just ask to play the best game I can play. Like, it's a somber moment. It's not something that's jolly where like everybody's singing real hard. I know other countries have done that. When have we ever expected our athletes that represent America to sing the national anthem? But like, that's been the total uproar on social media. And what kills me is this is Jason Aldean 2.0. Try that in a small town. Okay, I'm not a country music person. I know that's going to lose votes. But like, I listened to that song. I read the lyrics. I'm still trying to figure out why I should be mad.
right. Yeah,
Crickets. I don't have it.
it
And
sounds like 90% of other generic pop country
right,
songs that are out right now.
Right. It is. It's a totally manufactured, dumb.
He probably didn't even write it.
No, he wrote it with a bunch of people. He's not from a
Yeah.
small town. Fine. There are a lot of people who write or
He
sing
has
songs
6
about
teams
things.
of corporate writers that work in Nashville.
Yeah, and like, I don't want to defend Jason Aldean because I could not care less about this dude, but it's the same thing. Like, it's just a controversy designed to whip up the opposition.
Just to create
Yeah.
frenzy.
Yeah, so people are literally rooting against America because they're mad about this fake controversy, and I think that's really annoying because there's so much to be mad about, and it's
Just be
literally
pissed about losing the game.
And that sucks. And,
Not,
there's
not over the
All it
national
is
anthem.
because of Megan Rapinoe. I mean, it's
That's
just
90%
What
of
it
it.
probably
She's a
is that we
controversial figure.
we still don't understand soccer entirely, but we can get pissed over music.
yeah,
Good
like
at that.
I just like it made me sick to see people who are like, I'm not rooting for our country, and it's like, okay, Megan Rapinoe's one person of 23 on the squad. What about all the others?
But
What
what's the problem is
She's not
in
even
the
starting.
culture of America right now is that any time you bring up any time of culture war issue, then immediately the other side hates your guts,
right,
and they're going to hate anything that you're associated with.
and that's terrible.
It's Bud Light.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just
Uh,
that's the
bit
culture
more
of the
nuanced,
world
but
right now.
it's
Is
but,
that anytime you dip your toe into that water, you've poisoned everything you're associated
Right.
with.
who is that serving?
No one.
No
the,
one.
The egos of the people who like
Right,
to
it's
tweet
just
things.
it's ugly and it's stupid.
State Representative Pierce is in the chat and he's watching. He says, "Hi Betsy, fire the coach."
Yep, Flacco out.
Kyle, if you go back, Betsy's got a laundry list of complaints. She'd like about $250 million to be let loose to the counties. I know you're holding on to 6. So next budget cycle, do her a favor and slide her about $250 million.
Come on, Kyle.
Is
You
it
got
really
this.
up to 6? I've been out of tune with it's up to 6.
Does that mean we're owed 1?
I don't know. It was like
They're capped at
back
5,
in
right?
not that long ago. It was like 5. There was a 2. Back in the day, it was 2. And I know
It might rain soon.
I hope we're getting a good interest.
Do you know it's
rate.
8% if you want to buy a house right now?
I hope
The
it-
30-year mortgage is 8%.
Wow.
I heard Bidenomics is really turning the country around.
I hear Biden's asleep right now.
Well, I mean, Dakota would be too if we let him.
It's after it's after
8:54.
8:30. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dakota would be asleep 2 hours ago. In other news, this is probably, Zach, I know you're going to go. This is probably the final weekend for the NASCAR IndyCar doubleheader spectacular on the road course, the Twisties, with NASCAR, Xfinity, ARCA, IndyCar all coming together for one weekend in Indianapolis.
Yep. I'll be there for part of Saturday. I can't make it for. I'd like to be able to go tomorrow, but I've got work. As noted, I went on a 2-week vacation like a month ago and burned through a lot of my time. I'm going to go over there for the IndyCar race. I cannot stay for the Xfinity race. I would actually stay for it if it wasn't at 5:30. And as all the local people know, it's the week of the Moreland World's Fair, and I've only been out there once, so I'm going to go
Only
out there.
once?
Only once. Usually, back in the day, I was a 6th day. I would get out there every day.
Seriously?
Yeah.
What is there to do for 6 days in a row?
People watching and eating great food. A lot of people. My wife's from the area, so that's Blue River's homecoming right
Yeah,
there.
that's true.
You
That's true.
run into a lot of even people aren't from Newcastle, but like you can walk around. It's one of those places. It's a little loop. You walk it, and then you stop halfway, and you talk to somebody you haven't seen since last year.
Man, whenever I was in high school, I was like,
Yeah, it's the place to be this week, and so
It rescheduled county school schedules.
yes. Some
Blue
of the
River started
schools-
a week late because of it.
And
Wow.
So, and
I mean, that is a big deal.
yeah, and so I'm helping with a cross country team, so I've got a cross country meet, so I can't make it for the morning stuff. So I'm going to see the least amount of activity at the track I've ever seen for an IndyCar race weekend, but I'll get over there for the race.
I think it's because we're fake Reese fans. Or this is the worst IndyCar race on the calendar and it shouldn't be there anymore.
It's a
a waste.
It's a horrible time.
They're like third banana
State
on their own
fair's
schedule.
going, Moreland's fair's going, school's back in session. It's just not a good. Apparently, it's going to be the last one though. They're doing a tire test on Monday on the oval because they want to get back to that 17,000 fans that show up for the oval race. And I don't know. They got to find a way to get that race back. That's all from. If people want to see how one event can change the course of an event franchise, look at the tire debacle with the Brickyard because that literally crippled it and never came back. But I'll be over there for that. But the Xfinity race is until 5:30 in the evening, so I'm not hanging out that long.
IndyCar's race there in May. They can go to Milwaukee in August.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
be
the
fine with
rumor.
that. All right. Let's start to final thoughts. Zach, you have anything?
Not a lot. I'm gonna give kudos to you. You said you slept through the Broad Street Cruise last week. It was less cruise, more bikes. They handed out 165 bicycles to kids. You just came up, signed a sheet, and then they just drew names. They had all different sizes. They had a bunch, and Pointer Brothers handed out quite a few bikes.
Where'd they get all the bikes?
Right.
People donated. I'm not sure. Like there was I was running by Pointer Brothers, and they got a truckload. And then some other businesses donated, and they just kept getting more money. They were just running to Walmart and just buying more bikes, and so they had everything from toddler bikes up to they even had a couple. I think they only had 2 or 3, but like 26-inch frame bikes.
That's amazing.
And they just 24s and 25s, and so I was actually bummed I didn't take my drone downtown because you literally had to have gone up and elevate to understand how many people showed up. Like the area in front of the courthouse was just crammed full of people. All these little kids. And then their parents and the fire department helped and EMS helped because the fire department would take them and go over and have them pick out their bike. They all came with helmets, too. So that was really cool to see that event. Like we went down there, signed up like everybody else did, and then walked over to Primo and had a delightful dinner, and then got back just in time for them to do it. So there wasn't a lot of cars seen for me, which is why I usually go down there for. But to see the community come together and do that was really cool. And then like that night there was I joked there was a 9/11 call that went up on the Facebook group about a bunch of kids riding their bikes at 18th and Broad Street, and I was like, they probably just got them. They're just trying to enjoy them. It was 11:30 at night, but Other than that, if you're local and you're going to listen to this the next day, get out there to the Moreland World's Fair and get an elephant ear. I mean, the best thing about that is you go out there, that fair, you support a bunch of local because the band sells elephant ears. I can't think of the group that sells
Optimist.
ice cream cones. Optimist sells ice cream cones. FFA sells lemon shake-ups.
Well,
And the volunteer firemen sell foot-long hot dogs and coney dogs.
and then like the big food booth, like
Yeah,
different
and then
groups.
the food tent.
Republicans
I
have
call
it
it
Saturday.
If you're old timer, you call it the food tent, even though it's now a building. It's a pole barn, and that's run by a different community organization, churches, political parties, whatever, every
Right.
night, and they'll have who it is, and they have good breaded tenderloins and hamburgers and homemade pies. and
It is
desserts.
really hard work. As somebody who's worked that the last 4 or 5 years as Republicans, Saturday night, the last night, it is hard work.
Yeah, and it's hot in there.
It really is. Yeah, and very
parade-
greasy.
Parade's at 3, so everybody keep your lighters and matches in your pockets. But if you're out in the county, because every volunteer fire department's fire trucks are in the parade. So go out and enjoy that.
It would take
community.
years to get back down to Knightstown to respond to something.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Fire.
Don't even say it.
The average fire truck can go 34 miles an hour. The volunteer fire department trucks.
It's gonna be a half hour.
Their trucks are all older than us. Betsy, have you guys already done your hot dogs on the courthouse square?
No, that's coming up.
As I like to say, hot dogs with Diego. I assume the Secretary of State will be here. He likes that's the kind of thing he likes.
I assume it.
Or a bratwurst
So
with him.
what's supposed to be the 18th? I think it's the 25th now. They moved it back. Is that right, Sal? 25th.
The 25th.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe I'll be in attendance.
You should. I've got a ticket for you.
All right. Oh boy, subsidized hot dog. There's nothing like government sausage. All right. What else? What else do you have for us?
Henry County government, we're working hard. I'm really proud of my colleagues. Like, I feel like such a jerk for not having been there the last 2 weeks, but literally I was just down and out with COVID. It really, third time fully vaxxed, it really kicked me in the rear. So I'm just proud of my colleagues. I think they are very transparent. They work really hard. They really want the best. And it's a messy situation. It's like, we're problem solving in 100 different ways. So I don't know how tomorrow shakes out. I don't know what the budget exactly looks like. I have a lot of research to do, but I am proud of my colleagues, and I assure you that you've got good people working for you in Henry County.
Question for you about the logos you're wearing.
Yeah.
All these American logos. Are those new? Are those current? Have they always worked with these?
So this is the last jersey. This is the most current, but the 4 stars on our shirts for
Right.
4 World Cups, because we're the country with the most World Cups.
Okay.
Same with the hat. I'm wearing this to celebrate our team. We're going to need a new coach, major transition. I'm not going to be a conservative who trashes an American team. So that's what I'm doing.
Do they every time they come up? Do they come up with a new uniform every time?
It's like every year or so, and definitely every like Olympics or like World Cup cycle. Absolutely.
Because I'm getting a Dan Gurney All American Racers vibe. I sent you a text or a logo.
Yes. Okay. You did send me that.
And I'm Zach. Do you pick up on this when you see that?
My
When you see
response
it?
to it was All American Racers.
Yeah.
It's
I have no idea what that is, but
All-American
it
Rejects.
does look
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
similar.
That's
All
Dan
American
Gurney's a
Rejects is
famous
the first thing I
racer.
thought
and
of.
yeah,
Dan,
he
Dan
it's a
Gurney was
meme
an
that someone
F1 and
made.
IndyCar owner and driver back in the 60s and 70s, and
won a Formula One race with his
yeah,
own car.
won NASCAR races. Like, he's a legendary motorsports guy based in Southern California. And All American Racers was the thing. And I just look at that logo and go, my God, it screams
It does look a
AAR.
lot. Yeah, I didn't know what that was.
So I was just curious if there
Yeah.
was any backstory or anything, if they were
No.
paying a nod to him.
I don't know the timing of that, but like this crest is old enough. But the 4 stars are more recently earned.
Interesting.
2019 being the last. so,
Interesting.
and it sucks not to win this year. Like
It is a cool logo, though.
it is.
Yeah.
And what's funny is like the women have this one and the men have this one where there's no stars.
That's pretty funny.
I don't know. It hurts to be a fan of the team right now. Just they're getting beat up, and also it's just a time of transition. So, but I believe in. I love soccer. I love football. I love basketball. But I'm one of those weirdos who really likes soccer. And I think better times are in the future.
Dakota, final thoughts?
I have nothing, Jer. You'll be gone next week. We won't be here. I'll be gone the week after. So.
I do. So we're dark next week. We will probably have a show on the 24th. assuming I can figure it out. I'm going to go full Clark Griswold and take the camper to Mount Rushmore.
Oh wow!
So we're gonna go to the Black Hills of South Dakota as the Sturgis people leave. We're gonna roll in. So I'm gonna pass a hell of a lot of. I'm gonna pass a hell of a lot of motorcycles
and a lot of COVID
as I head westbound on I-90 and they're heading eastbound.
Yeah, roll your windows down. Hit the recirculate button.
I
That's
literally feel like I'm just recovering from it. I think I picked it up at the county fair, and I've had the month of July.
Have you been there before, Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, it'll be it's the first time Sarah's gone. My mom and her family are from that area.
Okay,
she's from Newcastle, Wyoming. Monday we'll go visit my grandparents' grave in scenic South Dakota.
Go to the Badlands.
Oh yeah, it's there.
Okay, please.
I'll be there Sunday.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Gonna get my free ice water and my nickel coffee at Wall Drug. We're gonna do the whole thing. Okay, I have to give 2 plugs on the RV side, but then I have a question I'm going to leave you guys with. Mount Comfort RV did sell, so our buddy Rusty, friend of the show, Rusty Eckstein, who's been on Boss Hog before, they are selling to Camping World. So if anybody is interested in a travel trailer, fifth wheel, motorhome, whatever, Rusty is selling stuff below his cost so that he doesn't. He's like, listen, I'll sell it to Marcus Lemonis, the guy that owns Camping World, for a loss, or I can sell it to you guys for a loss now. So he's paying more money for trades than he's supposed to, and he's going to sell them under cost. So this is the last trip Sarah and I are making in our current camper because we made an arrangement with him. We're going to have a new one. And then if you don't want to pay for a camper this weekend, there's been the huge consolidation thing in this world. Modern Trailer in Anderson sold to a regional company called Bish's RV, and they're giving away 3 campers this weekend.
Bish's.
In Anderson. One to a local hero, one to somebody that just shows up at their event in person. Somebody's going to win one in a drawing, and then they're giving one away nationally. So they're going to give away 3 campers at Bish's in Anderson. All of that said, I have been nursing along. I've owned my house for 10 years, and I think I paid, it doesn't matter how much money I paid, but I paid a very small pittance amount of money for a lawnmower, another lawnmower, and a weed eater 10 years ago. And this has been a workhorse, 5.5 horsepower push mower. And this is the first week that I have not been able to get it to actually work and mow my grass. Do I continue to nurse it along as a source of pride and say I'm going to keep this mower going forever, or do I finally break down and go buy a new mower? Because I think I can fix it. Or do I break down and buy a new mower?
What does it cost to fix it?
Well, I put a spark plug in it. I put an oil filter in it. I changed the oil. That was about $26. And then I think what's actually wrong is that the little primer plug on the carburetor is torn, which Amazon, $12. So I think I'm going to be $40 into it, plus my time, which is worth $3 in labor.
So do that, and if that doesn't work, then say goodbye.
So you think I should think I should just keep going?
Yeah,
I have the same opinion. I had that same problem on the one I had when I lived in Newcastle. I replaced it and it worked.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, at that cost, why not?
Yeah. I mean, I think I might be emotionally attached to this lawnmower at this point.
But like, if you were like, this is $150, I'd be like, move on, bud.
Move on.
But like, you can do this.
Yeah. All right, Zach.
yeah, if that doesn't
Don't
work.
ask me. I treat mowers like disposable. Just can't. I hit stuff with them.
Zach
They
has
don't
never
mow
sold a
straight.
car in his life, but he has no problem with churning mowers.
I'm like on my. I'm trying to think how many mowers I've been through. I had one. I think I killed. Yeah, I killed one of mine, and then I killed my mom's, and that was a good lawn boy that had really gone through some stuff, and I killed it. And the one I've got now doesn't really mow straight. It mows kind of crooked. So I have to go over everything twice.
So
I mean, because I hate trimming. So I just take the mower in places where it shouldn't go, and then I pay the price. Like the one I broke, I bent a blade 90 degrees, stopping it.
I would rather use weed killer and then just hand trim some stuff than to use a string
that's what I
trimmer.
do.
I hate the string trimmer.
I string trimmed my yard and my mom's yard, and it doubled the time it took me to mow. It was like 3-hour job for both yards, and then 10 days later, you can't tell. Hate it. Hate. So yeah, I'm a horrible person to ask. 'Cause
Every
I
time
do-
you use a string trimmer, just take it down to the dirt.
I do, and my yard grows.
So my father works in a mower shop. This is the other side.
Yeah.
So I call him this morning, or we're making conversation, and I explain, hey, lawnmower thing. He's like, what'd you do? He's like, okay, you need to replace your carburetor. What'd you get? I was like, Amazon. He's like, that's not going to work. He was very judgmental of the Chinese parts that are going to come. He was not optimistic about my
That's
plan.
because Paul's a good American. And
He's an
we
American
don't-
auto worker.
We don't like the CCP here.
Nope.
I don't know. I just need I think it literally it's a tank. I don't even think it really needs oil to run. I think it just needs
I've never changed oil in mine.
yeah.
Ever.
I think it
And
just
they're
the
all-
primer bulb broke, and I think I probably could have duct taped it and made it work. But my grass isn't cut. I got somebody cutting my grass for the first time in ages, which is kind of a shameful thing for a guy to not cut my own grass.
Would you go electric?
For me, oh hell no.
It works.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Jeremiah's old now, Betsy.
I
No,
know,
it's
I
not
know. He's
that.
an old. I know.
It's
He's
not
40.
that. It's that. Thanks, Dakota. I don't have electric to my mini barn where the mower sits.
yeah.
I have to plug it in. I have to carry batteries.
You
At
just
some point,
you
the
only have
batteries
to
are
have a
gonna
place to
die.
plug the batteries in.
I'm
not
gonna
the
have to.
lawnmower.
I'm gonna have to put solar panels on my mini barn.
or solar panels or a windmill.
Yeah.
Just stick it up above the
Oh
trees.
man.
Re-
You
Oh my
guys.
Personal use windmills are fine. All right, that's enough of this. We thank you guys very much for being a part of the show and hanging with us. We will see you in 2 weeks, probably, maybe 3, but 2 weeks. I'd say pencil us in for August 24th. Most of us will be here.